Shamsuddin Jasani, who's currently leading one of India's oldest ad agencies, which we've seen in multiple avatars. First is Hindustan Thompson Associates, then J. Walter Thompson, and now Wunderman Thompson. Mr. Jasani, thank you for joining us here.
My pleasure, my absolute pleasure. And it's great speaking to you and the people at Impact.
Thank you. Now, most of us know you as a man responsible for the growth of brand Isobar in India. Now, you made the switch from heading a purely digital agency to one that is taking giant strides towards technology and digital, especially after the merger with Wunderman. Now, what is the biggest challenge for you here as the CEO of Wunderman Thompson South Asia?
I would say that it's a challenge as well as an opportunity. It's amazing legacy. In Isobar, it was a very young organization, so it was very easy to mold in because it didn't have any history. The greatest responsibility that I have is that it's an amazing 90-year-old heritage of this brand that is there, and so how to take this forward without actually changing a lot and making sure that people know that we have creative and brand at the heart, but taking it into the future and making sure that as we said, we want to adopt a lot more technology commerce as we are going into 2022 and beyond. So how do you find the right balance in making sure that we kind of respect the history that we have, we build on top of that. That is an amazing foundation that we have, and then take it into the future is a challenge, and also the scale. It's a very, not only the oldest but one of the largest organizations, advertising agencies in India. So it's both an opportunity, but as well as that huge responsibility and a challenge to make sure that we keep on delivering the best and improving at the same time. So yeah, so that's the challenge as well as the opportunity for me.
And you spoke about history, and I remember, I think 3 years ago, the placement of the word Wunderman before Thompson was called a big blow to traditional agencies.
Yeah.
And that too in a market like India, where Wunderman didn't really have a very strong presence. So as a person responsible for the agency network today, do you feel brand Wunderman Thompson is resonating well with clients?
I think it increasingly is. Of course, we lost, and as I was speaking, that the last 2 years of the pandemic, it's been difficult for us to meet people and hence establish more of the brand. But I think it's done a good job over the last 3 years to be able to resonate with clients. I think it's important for me, and I think Wunderman Thompson has also made a very big statement by not just changing the name Wunderman Thompson, but also bringing someone like me with a digital background. To signal what the future is, and as I said, my biggest responsibility is to make sure that we take on and carry the heritage with us and build on top of that. So that is what I have entrusted myself as a responsibility. While of course globally Wunderman Thompson is moving towards in a very fast pace, it's moving towards a technology commerce driven world, but in our part of the world, brand and brand experience also plays a huge role. So how can I actually manage the marriage of Wunderman and Thompson, which initially was set up, and now to accelerate that marriage to its eventual conclusion is really my goal over the next 2 to 3 years that I have set out for myself.
Okay, so if you were to talk about technicalities, and we want to believe, like you said, that it's not just a cosmetic change in a name.
It is not. Yeah.
So what has changed on the ground? What can a client expect from the new Wunderman Thompson? And how is it different from what it was?
The process that we are, so it's still a process. It's still something which we are undergoing, that transformation from, or rather, in addition to what we had. So Wunderman Thompson as an agency, and this is my vision for where Wunderman Thompson really will go over the next 1.5 to 2 years. Okay. One, of course, we've always been the pioneers of advertising. We have been at the front of advertising for 9 decades. I mean, that's a long time. That continues. That does not change. But what has happened over the last 2 years is that we've been more and more media agnostic, by which I mean that digital has played a bigger and bigger role for Wunderman Thompson as well. We've got acquisition agencies. We've acquired Mirum, which is integrated very well, and now integrating and working very closely with us to be able to not only leverage the digital capabilities, but also the technology capabilities that are there. So that's something which is working very well. And in fact, over the course of the last 3 months that I've come in, it's getting closer and closer in terms of the integration. The number two part, of course, is that we are leveraging our capabilities on commerce. We've got a very strong commerce team, which does global work on commerce. How can we dip into that team to be able to drive a lot of commerce needs that our clients have and deliver to that? So I think that is the second part. But I think the evolution for Wunderman Thompson, the agency, is going to be where we, of course, are doing great brand experience work, great communication work, and that will always be bread and butter. Creativity will always be bread and butter for Wunderman Thompson. That does not change. But the evolution for us as an agency, and that's what the requirement from the client is also, that we understand consumers so well. So how can we help and work with clients in the entire consumer journey, not just on the brand experience part of the business, but the entire customer experience? So at every stage of that journey, how can we give solutions which goes beyond just brand, which goes to every part of the business, where we can use our insights on consumers to tell them, okay, how can you do something different and something better, so that the experience to the end consumer is so great, which again goes back to building a great brand and building a great business. So I think that's the near-term evolution, which is going to be powered by technology, creativity, and digital. I think this is what's going to happen. And of course, the final conversion of that is going to come from commerce, because the last 2 years, that's what you've seen. E-commerce has really gone through the roof. Every bit of solution that you give the client, even if it's from a brand perspective, how are you tying that up to to commerce, is going to be a question. So yeah, so that's really it. But again, coming back to the one fact, we are always going to be a creative agency. Whenever even if you're talking about solutions in the CX space and the consumer experience space, that will be delivered through creativity and through great storytelling for us. That does not change. We've always been there, and that's what we will always be.
Okay, so you basically were not going to be like a Dentsu, which is known for its digital expertise, definitely, but you're going to be a mix of this and that.
No. It is the requirement, because see, at the end of the day, I mean, giving a very small example, when you saw IPL 2021, a huge amount of advertisers were the cryptocurrencies. Almost 80% of the ads that you see are digital first brands, but they need brands, right? They still need to be able to create brands, even if they are primarily on the digital medium. You still need to have an agency who can create brands for them. So how can I marry the amazing expertise that we have in creating brands with the digital expertise and the technical expertise that we have from our martech capabilities? I think that gives clients an entire end-to-end solution that they are looking for. So yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I am a big believer in marriage of creativity and technology. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot succeed. The clients want that. The clients do not want to bifurcate those two. So I think it's important and that's really where Wunderman Thompson globally as well as in India, we see us being clear differentiators, and that's where I think our future lies.
But having said that, what are the new additions that you're going to have in the group? What kind of specialist sections, units are you going to launch in this year?
Yeah, in the next month or so, we're going to launch something in the health part of the business. So I'm not even waiting for a year. So you will hear from us very, very, very soon on health as a category, which we feel, and because we have got a very competitive and a very differentiated product, which is powered by digital and which is powered by content, and of course the great brand experience. So that's really the beauty of where we are, that I can marry what we have done in brand and what we have from a content and technology perspective to give something very unique to the client. So health is something which is coming up very, very soon. Our design business, I think, is something which we've kind of had on and off. So again, that's another thing. But that design business is not going to be talking about this the traditional business design, but it's going to evolve more into experience design as well. So it's going to take something which we've been great at, which is just pure play design, to design plus experience design. So I think that again is somewhere during the middle of the year to the end of the year. Again, as I said, more on the consumer experience piece. How can I work as a partner and a consultant to clients, where we work with them on the end-to-end consumer experience piece. So we're not just talking to the CMOs, we are talking to the entire organization on uh, how do they change their processes, how do they do digital transformation based on the experiences that the consumer is going to have. So that's going to be extremely critical. So that's a journey that we're going to have. Martech, another
Mhm.
very big part, Mirim, which has a very large Martech business, is going to power the entire Wunderman Thompson group strategy on Martech, and we're going to invest a lot on Martech, and we're looking at least being 500 people strong by the end of next year, just in Martech. That's
Wow.
something which we feel is going to drive a lot. And finally, commerce. So Wunderman Thompson commerce, something which we feel is again making great strides in India,
Mhm.
and I think that's another a driving force for it. And finally, of course, our bread and butter, as I said, what we are going to strive for is our creative product to get better and better and better. This is through awards, through making sure that we have recognition, through making sure that we slightly more brave in the work that we do. So
Mhm.
I think it's a combination of all of these things that we are looking at in the year going ahead.
So you spoke about awards, and it's interesting that between 2017 and I think 2022, Wunderman Thompson has won one bronze at Cannes, and this is an agency which has brought home India's first Grand Prix for TOI.
Yeah.
So how do you think? I mean, what is your
See, I think,
focus going?
yeah. So I think, I mean, the last 4 years is, as I said, is historical. But yeah, the focus clearly is going to be on two to three things. One is we've done great work. I know that this year also we've done some great work. It's about just finding the time to push for it. I think the what's happened, and I do not blame too much on this whole digital us working on this medium, but we need to try harder than we used to when we sit together and in a physical space and actually jam and create these pieces of work. So the work is
Hmm.
coming out, but I don't think we've had enough time to really enjoy that work and put it forward, because the next work comes and the next work comes and the next work comes.
Hmm.
So I think what's important is that we have good work, we celebrate that good work, and we put it out in front of the world. I think that's
Hmm.
number one.
Hmm.
And when I spoke about all of these new things, when I'm talking about innovation, so when I'm talking about how do I use platforms, so one of the newer things that we're going to bring in is how are we using technology to marry it with our creative. As I said, that's going to be a very important part of going into the future,
Hmm.
and that also plays a big role in terms of the awards as well. Is how do I use platforms? How do I use technology to drive creativity? So I think that is also one thing that is going to change, and I guess that'll help us. And the rest is just kind of putting the effort in. So yeah, so I think that's what's going to be important.
Okay. And I know you joined last year, but what kind of growth has Wunderman Thompson seen in the past year, revenue-wise, and what are the big accounts that you've won in the past year?
Yeah. So I think the last year is been slight. I mean, it's been difficult for the last 2 years for the entire industry. Has been slightly difficult, of course, but
Mhm.
I think we've held steady and we've done a good job in terms of the growth from 2020. 2020 for the entire industry was bad.
Mhm.
2021 was a relatively good year. I mean, not able to disclose exactly what the numbers were into
Okay.
last year, because I'm now looking at what we are going to go ahead and do in the future. So I think that is where I think a lot of my focus arises and lies. So for me, for example, the vision is that over the next 3 years we want to double our size, and then we talk about the scale of Wunderman Thompson. That's a very big ambition that
Mhm.
we have, and that's
Double
going to be
in revenue, you mean, right?
in double in revenue
Okay.
in terms of size that is there. So that and then everything is a derivative of that. Double in revenue, double in the scale of the clients that we're working with, the size of the clients that we're working with, the differentiated kind of industries that we're working with. So I think that is something which I feel is an ambitious goal, but I think it's an important goal. A
Mhm.
few of the clients that we won over the course of the last year, which I can kind of disclose, we've won Vedanta, which I think is a big client,
Mhm.
Dell, Skechers, Shell, Tata Pipes, Birla Estates, L&T Reality, Cavan Care. Kotak Mahindra Private Limited. So there is a whole host of clients that have been won. I mean, we've done well on new businesses in 2021 and keep on doing well in 2022 as well. This on the back of some very, very old relationships as well. I mean, as we said, it's a 9-decade-old agency. So we've had clients who've been with us for forever, which is the backbone of the agency, of course. And then newer clients that we are getting in newer categories as well, and newer parts of our business. So we're winning a lot of digital businesses as well. So it's not just traditional businesses and mainline businesses, but also digital business. So I think that holds us in good stead.
Okay. Talking about new business, I was reading this R3 New Business League study, and it says new pitches have increased significantly in 2021, and also the revenue from them has, I think, doubled in the past year. So do you feel pandemic was sort of this watershed moment for most clients to kind of reevaluate which agency should they be in future? Past bonds notwithstanding.
I think a couple of things are happening. I don't know if pandemic has done that. One is that a lot more clients are looking at an integrated approach. So a lot of pitches are now integrated pitches. So I think what is driving a lot of those pitches are not only, it's not just reevaluating what the agencies are, but reevaluating how many partners do you actually want. And that is where the idea is that it should be an agency which can do everything for me. The agency which owns my brand, the agency which owns the thinking, but also is able to execute across all the mediums, and is giving me the right kind of technology and the right kind of prowess as far as commerce goes, for example. So I think increasingly the idea of pitches is more and more integrated pitches, more and more media agnostic pitches, because what's happening is that a lot of clients have multiple agencies on their roster to deliver, mainline creative. There must be an agency which does digital creatives for them, social media for them, content for them. So they are grappling with 4 or 5 agencies. And I think at least the larger clients are trying to consolidate that and go with agencies who can actually deliver all of these together. So they're looking at partners like us who can actually, give them that kind of a thing. So I think that's the number one reason, which I feel, again, it's a personal feeling that I have. And second, of course, from a business perspective, yes, you want to reevaluate if you're getting the best out of what you are investing in. Yes, that will always be the case, whether pandemic or not. So I think it's a combination of these two, but I think it's more to do with just the integration, and that's why the pitch sizes have gone up, because digital was never considered when the overall pitch was mentioned. Now I think it's across medium, so hence also the pitch size have gone up, and of course by itself, but I think that's why the pitch size have gone up.
Okay, and also there was this time when most agencies would fight for retainership as a revenue machine. I think they still do, but clients are moving more and more towards projects, and some of them are also paying handsomely. So is that the new cool? I mean, even from an agency perspective, are you looking at projects in the big way?
It is, see, we want to tailor make our solutions based on what the client needs are. So if a client is comfortable and they are looking at an approach which is more of a retainer, we are able to give that to clients. But if there are clients who want to work on a pitch basis, we want to be able to do great work at the end of the day, whether that's through pitch basis or on a project basis or on the basis of a retainer. I think it finally it's about just your relationship. Even I know that clients who have done projects with us year on year, and for years they've not changed agencies, but they've been with us, but it's still a project-based clients because that's the way they operate. But they've been, because it's about the relationship that we have. Yes, there are clients who want to have different projects and different work, but there is a give and take, because then what happens is that as you keep on changing agencies, you also have, yes, you have fresh thinking, but also the brand has a little bit of change from agency to agency, because the thinking changes from agency to agency. So you need to invest a lot more of your effort in making sure there's consistency when there are new projects coming out time and time again. So there are pros and cons, but I think we are working with clients on both the approaches, and it's really up to the clients how what's the best for them. So we are open to either.
I know you mentioned you can't reveal the numbers, the revenue part of it, but can you help me with, what is the breakup between projects and retainers today? What as a sizable?
It's I think retail is still a sizable amount. I would
Mhm.
say it's still constitutes a larger amount of the business that are there. Projects is still a smaller amount of the business because we've had clients for a very long time, and they've trusted us with their work for a very long time. So that's always been there with us. For an agency like us, that'll always be the case because of the legacy business that we've had, and it's good because it allows us to invest a lot more in newer parts of the business and newer side of the business. For us, it's still retainer would be still a large chunk of the business.
Makes sense. And my last question is, we I was speaking to industry heads here, and I remember contract advertising was one of the choicest of agencies for young guns who wanted to learn. But everybody, like I speak to now, say that it has kind of lost its mojo. So, I think they lost the string of accounts in 2019, like big accounts, like two decade old accounts like Domino's at that point in time. We never really saw it spring back. So now that you've taken over, what is your strategy to, to
Yeah,
bring these other
watch this
agencies?
space. I think a couple of things. Of course, contract is always been the exciting the the boutique kind of a brand that the clients always yearned for.
Mhm.
And I think it's over the last couple of years, it's done very well. The Bata International win, for example, they are doing the entire global work for Bata out of India. So that's something which I think is done. Shopper Stop has been with us for the longest time in contract. So I think the agency is getting its mojo back, but I think it's just waiting for this year and the next year to really prove it. So I think let's just leave it to that. From Miram, I think Miram is doing fantastically well. I think a lot more closer interactions are happening. A lot more closer work is happening between Wunderman, Thompson, and Miram, which is helping drive better products to the clients. And as I said, there's a lot that is going to be powered by Miram as far as technology, as far as um, you know, uh, Martech goes. So I think that's something. And as I said, health is going to be a critical part. Again, Miram is going to play a role in health as well. And
Mhm.
Wunderman Thompson Commerce. I think Wunderman Thompson Commerce is something which we will also harp on a lot. So yeah, so I'm very very excited about this, and I think one of the things that's happened that I can see around a lot within the entire group is there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. There's a lot of noise that is happening, which I feel happy about. I mean, first thing I did was go and meet as many people as possible. I went to Bombay, Delhi. I mean, I'm based out of Bombay, but Delhi and Bangalore.
Mhm.
Couldn't move to Calcutta yet because of the pandemic, but soon we'll be traveling there. It's just because people meeting them, making sure that they know, making sure that we are learning from each other is something which I feel extremely excited about. So yeah, so you'll see a lot more excitement about all our brands as we go forward.
Super. And I shall watch this space for more.
Absolutely,
Looking forward to some great work, not just from Wunderman Thompson, across its agencies, contracts especially. And
sure,
lovely talking to you, Shams. And I
pleasure.
hope I also can come and catch up with you sometime now that you're back in office.
I'm back in office, so yeah, absolutely,
Super. Looking forward to that as well. Thank you
pleasure.
so much for
Okay,
speaking to us.
thank you.